Bruh, you're such a nerd.
Hello, welcome back to Already Distracted. As you can see, Dev and Tippy are not here, and soon neither will I be. However, you'll see. Anyways, this is our good friend Wizard, who you already know from the gaming channel and a couple past episodes and stuff like that.
No, I'm not in it.
You're in it. You're in
Oh,
it.
you're going.
Oh no!
I will go to each and every single one of your homes and shit in places that will leave you confused for the rest of your lives.
And if you're on the gaming channel, you've probably heard him go off on some tangents. Also, I apologize for my camera. I know I'm super whited out. I'll fix it later. Anyways, you've probably heard him go off on some tangents about Power Rangers. And we thought, because today's Valentine's Day, and me, Tippy, and Devin all have wives, Mr. Sad and Lonely over there. But Wizard over here, I figured I'd just let him off his leash and go nuts with some Power Rangers lore. So, without further ado, I'm going to say goodbye, and our friend...
It was at this moment Taylor did not realize that he hit his record button quite early, leaving Wizard to stare blankly and awkwardly, like so. But without further delay, here is Wizard's epic Power Rangers episode. Enjoy.
Mwahaha. Alright, you're stuck with me. Well, let's start with some Power Rangers lore, shall we? What to start with? So first off, let's start with just some background on Power Rangers, in case you're unfamiliar. Power Rangers is a TV show that was started back in the 90s with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers follows a team of 5 teenagers with attitude, direct quote. Let's change up some lights in here. There we go. Teenagers with attitude, direct quote from the show, whose job is to fight a magic space witch who plans to take over the world.
What?
So what happened was astronauts land on Mars. They find this tube basically just sticking out of the ground and decide to take the lid off. Rita Repulsa steps out and she decides that after 10,000 years, she wants to conquer Earth as a party for finally being freed.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
So that is how Power Rangers got its first ever kickoff way back in the 90s. Power Rangers isn't the origin of spandex-clad superheroes doing things. Power Rangers originates from a show called Super Sentai that originated out in Japan. Super Sentai had I'm not going to say about, several seasons well before Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. But what happened was the Saban's Power Rangers came from someone who was watching Super Sentai and said, I can bring this to the American market. So they took all of the morphed recordings of the Rangers fighting. So anytime a Power Ranger is morphed and fighting a villain, most of the time it's not actually Power Ranger recording. It is Super Sentai Japanese recording that has been dubbed over. Some real interesting side stuff from this is the yellow Mighty Morphin Power Ranger in Power Rangers is a girl. She's Trini. In Super Sentai, it's a dude. The only female on the team is the Pink Ranger in the Super Sentai. So in Power Rangers and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, you see all the Rangers lined up, and you have the Pink Ranger in your skirt and the Yellow Ranger with the bulge. I'm not kidding. It is something that you can look up. But it's just some interesting stuff that comes from the disconnect between Super Sentai and Power Rangers. Now, every season since then has been the theme comes from what Super Sentai was doing. So next was Power Rangers Zeo, because Super Sentai changed the season that was going on, and so they had to do Power Rangers Zeo next. And then it's Power Rangers Turbo, and then so on and so forth until present day, where unfortunately Super Sentai has ended, but Power Rangers is planning to come out with a new season anyways, just without any original Japanese recording. So let's see how that goes in the future. What we know also is Power Rangers is typically teenagers in spandex fighting monsters. The spandex is not spandex, it is morphed suits. Not morph suits, but they have morphed into Power Rangers. And you'll notice very quickly the naming convention for Power Rangers is very, very basic. Because it does very much say Morphin, 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 Morphin. And I very much apologize for my poor camera quality, as I'm now realizing I'm on a laptop. But I digress. You will notice typically have 5 people of different colors, and the leader is always a Red Ranger. And it seems like every single season, the Red Ranger is significantly more powerful than everyone else. And then the Red Ranger also gets typically like battleizers, they're called, where they call in extra armor or extra stuff that just makes them more buff to help them kick butt in more ways. And so people have questioned, if the Red Ranger is so powerful, why not make one team that is just Red Rangers? It's because it would blow a hole through the universe. I am not kidding. I'm not making that up. It has actual lore context, and it's my favorite piece of lore about Power Rangers. So let's talk about this. The reason that it will blow a hole through the universe, we need a little bit more background. So Power Rangers get their abilities and powers from this thing called the Morphin Grid. The exact origins of the Morphin Grid isn't exactly known, but it's an extra-dimensional plane, essentially, of pure energy and knowledge. Energy, because they have to get all the powers and abilities and all that from somewhere. And then knowledge, because anytime a Power Ranger morphs for the first time, all of a sudden they know how to fight, they know how to call their Zords, they know what to call their abilities, and all this stuff. So we have power and energy now in this Morphin Grid. You can think of the Morphin Grid visually as like a big grid of colors. So you have like red over here, blue, green, white, black, whatever, what have you. Just laid out in this grid. And Power Rangers use technology called morphers to access the grid in different spots each. So the Red Ranger is sticking a pin down in the red zone and drawing power from there. The Yellow Ranger is drawing power from the yellow zone, blue from blue, green from green, red from red, purple from purple, graphite from graphite, silver from silver. Technically, they're different, apparently, somehow. I'll get to that later. The Morphin Grid that they draw their powers from is extremely powerful. Undescribably so. It, like I said, it will blow a hole through the universe because Power Rangers will use morphers. Morphers is typically wrist-mounted or cell phone type technology that's specifically designed to draw power from the Morphin Grid and focus it so that Power Rangers can actually use it. When I say wrist-mounted or phone type, there are some notable exceptions, which can get really funny because typically you'll see a Ranger. It's normal for someone to be walking around with a flip phone when Power Rangers was made, and wrist-mounted stuff looks bulky and it looks weird, but just no one ever mentions it, that there are 5 people running around in spandex with these things on their wrist that they keep getting power from. And then there's these 5 teenagers in high school that have identical bracelets to them, and no one draws attention to this. But notable exceptions from the cell phone and wrist rule is, first off, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Their power morphers are buckles, which contain power coins. I love the naming convention. Power coins that go into the power morpher, which allows them to do their morphing sequence, call out their dinosaur, and morph.
Mastodon! Pterodactyl! Triceratops!
Robo bitch.
We have the Jungle Fury solar morphers. They're sunglasses. They are straight up sunglasses. The main 3 Power Rangers put on a pair of sunglasses, do their the morphin thing. It's morphin time. Morph. And then just become Power Rangers in their way. So we have buckles and sunglasses. Mystic Force. There's a character called Daggeron. He is the Solar Ranger. He uses a trained ticket punch for his morpher. So he has cards that grant powers. And to morph, he punches a hole through the card, throws it, and he morphs with that. So he uses trains, I love trains, to morph into his Ranger form. Power Rangers SPD. Power Rangers SPD takes place in 2025, so the past now, and they are space cops. SPD stands for Space Patrol Delta. Power Rangers SPD follows the B team of Power Rangers in Space Patrol Delta. The A team had gone missing in like the first episode, so it has to follow the B team of Rangers trying to fend off alien threats against Earth, and I think elsewhere in space. But their police badges helps them morph. An interesting side tangent about this. I'm going to go on a lot of side tangents, so just be aware. Most series, the color that they get when they start is the color that they're stuck with, unless something happens, like in the case of Mystic Force, which I can cover later. Power Rangers SPD is the exception because their color denotes their rank. So on their uniforms, the Red Ranger actually has like a 1 down his side. The Blue Ranger has a 2, Pink has a 3, and so on and so forth. So we actually see multiple times Rangers change color as they increase in rank. So when the show is going on, the Green Ranger is rank like 3 or 4. We see later him wearing blue because the Red Ranger leaves at the end of the show. Spoiler warning. So the Blue Ranger steps up, and then everyone moves forward, and the Green Ranger becomes the Blue Ranger. And then later down the line in Power Rangers Operation Overdrive, we see a whole bunch of Rangers from different teams show up. We have the Green Mystic Force Ranger, the Yellow Dino Thunder Ranger, the Black Mighty Morphin Ranger, and the Red SPD Ranger, who is the Green Ranger when the show was actually going on. So, side tangents aside, the SPD Rangers use their police badges to morph. In addition to morphing, these police badges also have truth detectors or lie detectors built in. So what happens is, since they're space cops, after fighting some villain, they'll put it out, turn it on, and it will detect whether or not this villain, who they've literally been fighting and destroying the city with, is guilty of being a bad guy. And so obviously most of the time they're the bad guy. There's like 2 exceptions to the rule. But yeah, and then they trap them in a card. In the Super Sentai, they just kill the guys. There is no saving them. The SPD in Super Sentai just murk the villains. The card in locking them up was a complete Power Rangers adaptation, because apparently that's just too dark for American audiences. Mighty Morphin Megaforce, they have Gosei morphers. It's basically the power morphers from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. They just use cards instead of coins. And then the Power Rangers Dino Charge use guns. So they take their tiny little morphin thing, energy cell or something. It's not energy cell, but I digress. Stick it in the gun, shoot, they morph. This is one of the rare cases where also the morphin technology is used as a weapon, because it's a gun. They will just shoot their enemies with their morphers. It just happens. Power Rangers Ninja Steel is the last example I've written down for an exception. Use a giant ninja star to morph. They never throw it. They never fight with this giant ninja star. And actually in the Super Sentai, the morpher is the swords that they use. So the swords that they use as weapons have like 3 buttons on them. And in the Super Sentai, they press a button on the sword to morph. But they decided to make more toys, because by this time, Power Rangers is no longer owned by Saban. It is owned by Hasbro. Side tangent, Power Rangers has been owned by so many companies. It started with Saban, then it went to somewhere else, then it went to Disney, then it went to Nickelodeon, and now it's owned by Hasbro. So many of the decisions now are about selling toys to kids, versus in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, there's an episode where the entire plot is this evil pig is eating everything, so they need to feed it hot food to make it stop eating everything. And then in Beast Morphers, we have an episode, the Beast Morphers being one of the newer seasons, there's an episode centered around the robot's feelings got hurt, and he disappeared on the Rangers to let them fight on their own, because one of the other Rangers hurt their feelings. But I digress. All this to say, morphin technology is weird, and here's how it will blow a hole through the universe. Each Ranger team will have their own morphin technology. This allows them to access it in slightly different regions across this red grid. So no 2 Red Rangers actually access the morphin grid in the same point. And so when I first said 2 Red Rangers on the same team will blow a hole through the universe, some people who do know Power Rangers lore know of an episode or a special called Forever Red, where like the first like 10 teams, give or take, just the Red Rangers got together to go fight a whole bunch of villains on the moon. And every single one of them morphed. So there were like 10 Red Rangers just sitting there, completely fully morphed, and nothing bad was happening. And this is, like I said, because each of them accessed the grid in a slightly different spot. So they're all over here in a red, but it's like here, 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 in a whole bunch of different spots. But what happens when the same morpher is used is it hits the exact same spot, meaning two people are trying to draw the power from the morphing grid at the same point. This is going to destabilize and possibly cause damage to the morphing grid. And it, like I said, could blow a hole through the universe. There was one situation where two Rangers needed to morph at the same time, and they couldn't do it for more than like 5 minutes at most before it got destabilized, and Alpha 5 had to go into the morphing grid and fix it. But there are some times where this rule is kind of broken, or seems to be broken. The first time I can think of that happened was in Power Rangers Time Force. In Power Rangers Time Force, there's two Red Rangers, the Red Ranger and the Quantum Ranger, because they didn't want to call him Red Ranger 2. All the time, these two morphed together. Actually, one of them was like an anti-hero Ranger, because he worked for some government group that was like kind of fighting the Rangers, kind of like helping the Rangers, and it got complicated. Go watch the show so we can nerd out more. Technically speaking, it was the same kind of morphin technology. It was still very based on the Time Force morphers. Except it's not. It is called the Quantum Morpher. It's from a completely different time zone than when Power Rangers Time Force takes place. The show itself takes place in 2001, but Power Rangers Time Force technology was created in the year 3000. The way the show works is villain escape prison, go back in time, stop Time Force from happening, take over world and past. The Quantum Ranger isn't actually a Time Force Ranger. And so while their uniforms look almost the same, minus some like minor cosmetic differences, they're not even close to the same team. Ninja Storm, this also happened. So Ninja Storm is a series that only has 3 Rangers to start off with, red, yellow, and blue. Later on, they immediately add 2 more, a red and blue Ranger, but it's Power Rangers and Ninja Storm. They have to be on the same team, right? Nope. Power Rangers Ninja Storm, these ninjas are from the Wind Academy of Ninja School. Yes, there are multiple schools. The red and blue from the other team are technically like the Maroon and Navy Ranger, but people just call them red and blue because they are the Thunder Rangers. They are just straight up another team who decided to team up with the Wind Rangers. So we have the Power Rangers Ninja Storm, which follows the Wind Rangers from the Wind Ninja Academy. And then they team up with the Thunder Rangers from the Thunder Academy, who, spoiler alert, started off as villains for the Power Rangers Ninja Storm team because the big bad evil guy, a space luchador, I'm not making that up, look it up, space luchador, lied to them and said, yeah, no, I didn't kill your parents. These guys killed your parents or hurt your parents or something like that. Eventually, the Wind Rangers like, hey, we didn't do that. This guy did that. And they start fighting together. And then one more time that this happened was Power Rangers Ninja Steel, where the Red Ranger and his dad are both Red Ranger, and their mentor becomes a Red Ranger. And they all morph at the same time and all become Red Rangers. And they all morph with the exact same technology. So that just goes against everything I just said. Hi, I lied. No, I didn't. Like I said, Hasbro owned, actually, I think Nickelodeon still owned it at this point. But the reason this worked is they decided it. There's no real reason this was given in universe. Most likely what it came from was the producers didn't watch the original source material to go, this would blow a hole through the universe. Yeah, let's just do it to sell more toys. But here's my theory on how it works. I've not seen backup for this, but Power Rangers Ninja Steel get their powers from something called the Ninja Nexus. The Ninja Nexus is a giant space ninja star that showed up, and it had the original ninja stars in it that the Rangers used to get their powers and morph. This Ninja Nexus prism was created by the Morphin Masters. Specifically directly from the Morphin Masters. So my theory is the Morphin Masters put work into this Ninja Nexus, which, mind you, as soon as the Ninja Steel Rangers are done with it on Earth, it takes all their stuff and flies off. that's the way the Ninja Nexus worked. It literally goes planet to planet whenever they need the ninja steel powers. But my theory is that the Morphin Masters put something in it, or specifically worked with it, so that it does access it slightly different enough that it's not going to blow a hole through the universe. Oh, and the Morphin Masters didn't make the Morphin Grid; they just kind of study it. They did put like a lot of work into it, but yeah, they didn't make it themselves, from what I've seen. What else do we have? So yeah, that is my favorite piece of lore. Is the Morphin Grid is so powerful yet so stupid that 2 Red Rangers could blow up the entirety of the multiverse. And I say multiverse to segue into the next point. Power Rangers doesn't all exist all in one timeline. Now, my focus is mostly on the Power Rangers TV shows and movies, except for the Mighty Morphin movie. Technically, that's not canon. Ivan Ooze. But in Power Rangers, 2 of the shows exist in an alternate universe just straight up. And then a couple of the other shows just reference other worlds, or a huge plot line is the fact that other worlds exist. So the 2 that don't exist in the main timeline is Power Rangers RPM and Power Rangers Dino Charge. First off is Power Rangers RPM. This is like my second or third favorite series of Power Rangers. It is because it is a post-apocalyptic wasteland controlled by an evil computer virus who wants to wipe out Earth for no good reason other than he's evil. And it follows the RPM Rangers, who are all based on race cars and cars and stuff, trying to fight the evil Vengex virus and save the world, basically. Power Rangers RPM! We stand together! RPM, despite being based off of cars, contrary to belief, doesn't stand for rotations per minute, as a lot of people think. It actually stands for Racing Performance Machines. A little bit of trivia for you. Like I said, follows a post-apocalyptic wasteland. And the story behind it is a think tank named Alphabet Soup kidnaps children who are geniuses to have them think for them. So the huge spoilers, by the way, for the show. If you ever intend to watch Power Rangers, which I would encourage you to do, Power Rangers RPM, the villain Vengex, was created by Dr. K, who was abducted by Alphabet Soup as a child and literally forced to think and make weapons and make like encryption hacking algorithms and stuff for this entity, who I think is independent from like any government. And so as she's working on everything, she starts to create this computer virus called Vengex. And originally it's just an AI tool that she uses to just help her out, and it's designed to help the world. Well, the way Alphabet Soup kept Dr. K there rather than letting her leave is by lying to her, because they're lying liars who lie, and say, hey, you're deadly allergic to the sun. You touch sun, you'll spontaneous combust like a vampire. They didn't say that exactly, but it's essentially what they were trying to tell her. And in addition to her, 2 other people that we know of by name from Alphabet Soup are Gem and Gemma, who later end up being the Power Rangers RPM Silver and Gold Rangers. So Dr. K is like, hey, they're lying to us. I want to escape. I'm going to release Vengex to the world. That will shut down Alphabet Soup security. I'll then put up a firewall around Alphabet Soup so it can't actually escape. And then we're going to leave. Spoiler alert, she didn't get the firewall up. As soon as Vengex was released, Alphabet Soup goes into lockdown. They pull Dr. K away from her computer before she can stick a USB stick into her computer. Why Dr. K, this absolute super genius who made the Power Rangers RPM technology using the Bioforce, whatever they called it, didn't have the firewall set up to immediately go up as soon as Alphabet Soup was done, or didn't set up the firewall outside of Alphabet Soup so Vengex just could never escape in the first place, is beyond me. She releases the Vengex virus on the world. Vengex virus, being an actual AI and all-powerful, red button problem, if you ever heard of it. I love it. I'll talk about it some other time if I have the chance. Immediately takes over the world. And it is like within a year that most of humanity is wiped out and one place is safe. And it's the intro to every single episode. The opening is Vengex has taken over the world. If you can hear this message, get to the Dome City of Corinth, which is in like Africa, if the map serves. and it's just like a domed protected city that is like the last safe place on Earth.
The domed city of Corinth, and the only hope we have left.
And it's thought that there is no live human outside of this city at all. But the way the series starts is Dylan, the soon-to-be Black Ranger, is wandering the wild, picks up the distress signal, or not the distress signal, the broadcast, makes his way to the domed city of Corinth, and then the entirety timeline of RPM happens. And all that stuff goes down. I won't spoil much past that, but what I did say at the beginning about Dr. K and all that, huge spoilers for the show. So the timeline, it's never explained why RPM actually exists in an alternate timeline. It's just known and taken for fact that RPM does exist in a different timeline. But there are a few prevalent theories on it from what I found. And they both stem back to Power Rangers Time Force again, because Time Force was a series that took place right before Power Rangers RPM. The two main theories is the Time Force Rangers failed to defeat their big bad evil guy, and it caused a whole bunch of people to start trying to find stuff, and thus Alphabet Soup, who was a think tank for like military stuff, kidnapped children, made them do Vengex stuff, and eventually made Vengex. The second theory, which is considered to be more likely, is this is the timeline where Time Force never actually went back to the past. Because if you're time traveling from the year 3000, you know everything that happened in the past. But according to them, none of Power Rangers Time Force happened in 2001. So the moment that the villain did go back in time and do that, they changed the timeline, now it's all changed. And what the theory is the villain never went back to 2001, so we're in the timeline where it never happened. Because of this AI-powered arms race started going on, I say AI-powered, but this arm race happens, which sprouts Alphabet Soup, which sprouts Vengex, and therefore becomes the end of the world. I like to just think of the timeline itself because it's really cool. During the time of the show, it wasn't expressly stated that it was an alternate timeline. It wasn't until after Power Rangers RPM, which was Disney era, and it then goes to Nickelodeon era. RPM was the last one owned by Disney. Where Power Rangers Samurai happens. It's the first one owned by Nickelodeon. Oh, excuse me. It's Power Rangers Samurai is the first one that's owned by Nickelodeon, and they have a crossover episode called Clash of the Red Rangers, where some leftover villain from the Vengex army who wasn't killed and wasn't destroyed when Vengex was destroyed makes its way to the Prime universe, where every other show takes place. And so Scott, the Red RPM Ranger, also travels through dimensions to the main Prime timeline to fight with the Red Samurai Ranger to try and defeat the villains. Like I said, it's never actually explained when or how exactly the timeline split. It is just confirmed that RPM is a different timeline, because it's kind of hard to come back from post-apocalyptic where all of the world is destroyed and immediately go into, yeah, the world is fine, the world's perfect, fine and dandy, just a couple years later, fully repopulated. What else? But Dino Charge does it a bit differently. Dino Charge, up until like the last 2 episodes, exists in the Prime universe. So the backstory for Power Rangers Dino Charge, and spoiler warning if you want to watch this series, actually originates in prehistoric time with the dinosaurs. So Power Rangers Dino Charge get their powers from the Energems, which is just the way that they connect to the Morphin Grid. The Energems were being kept by an alien called the Keeper. Great naming convention, I know, I love it. The Keeper was being hunted by a dude named Sledge. He is a power-hungry bounty hunter who collected asteroids and illegal things and villains, and he wanted to get his hands on the Energems. Because they're connected to the Morphin Grid, they possess immense astronomical power. And so what happens is Sledge eventually starts chasing the Keeper, and they eventually make their way to prehistoric Earth. Prehistoric Earth, the Keeper sits down, and he sees a whole bunch of dinosaurs. I skipped so much stuff to know. Oh no, I got all that. And he sees dinosaurs. So he's like, I have to hide the Energems. I know, I'm gonna give them all to just random dinosaurs, the non-sentient being on this planet. I'm fully sentient, I'm super powerful, I possess all of these Energems, it's my job to keep them safe. I'm gonna give him to dinosaurs. So he gives the Red Ranger, or the Red Energem to the Tyrannosaurus Rex, the Black Energem to the Parrots, were the Parasaurolophus. The blue gem to the Stegosaurus, the green gem to the Velociraptor, the pink gem to a Triceratops, gold gem to a Pterodactyl, the aqua gem to the Ankylosaurus, the graphite to a Pachycephalosaurus, the purple gem to a Plesiosaurus, and the silver gem to a Titanosaurus. Why there's a difference between silver and graphite? I don't know. They needed a different color to not blow a hole through the universe. And so now all these dinosaurs take it and they spread out and they leave, but Sledge is still hot on his tail. In his pursuit of the Keeper, he heavily damaged his ship. As I said before, he was collecting asteroids and stuff. He crashed into Earth. Guess what happened? Sledge, canonically, is the reason the dinosaurs don't exist anymore in Power Rangers. Just like in our world, how the main prevalent theory behind the extinction of the dinosaurs is an asteroid came down, hit the planet, basically glassed it, and killed off all the dinosaurs. Yeah, that's confirmed in the Power Rangers timeline. Sledge, tracking down the Energems for Power Rangers Dino Charge, crashes into the Earth, kills all of the dinosaurs, and timeline happens. From then, nothing happens with Sledge, nothing happens with the Keeper, and the timeline goes down as you see throughout every other Power Rangers, excluding RPM. And the Energems are just kicking around Earth. The first Energem, the blue Energem, was picked up by a caveman named Koda. Apparently, one of the powers of the Energems is you stop aging. So this caveman stopped aging, and he just existed until present day. I believe it's the Gold Ranger, I believe, is a knight from Arthurian times. Let me double check my work because I'm a good researcher and I check my work. Yeah, he is Sir Ivan of Xandar. And he's literally just a knight who was alive for a long time doing stuff. So yeah. So the Rangers start collecting the Energems. Present time hits. The show opens with the Red Ranger, the Pink Ranger, and the Green Ranger all just randomly happening upon each other after discovering the Energems in their own way. The Red Ranger was in a cave and he found it in a fossil. The Pink Ranger found it randomly. The Green Ranger was out in the woods and he just found it. How you just find fossils is beyond me. But they get together. And then the events happen of Power Rangers Dino Charge. Sledge shows up. He wants to take over he wants the Energems. Just like with so many other series, the only way that he can get his hands on the Energem is by killing the Power Rangers. I think I may have forgotten to mention this. Most Rangers, as soon as they morph for the first time, are permanently connected to their powers now. This happens with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It happens, I believe, with Power Rangers Zeo. In Power Rangers RPM, the first time they morph, it links to their DNA, and so only they can morph. It happens with Power Rangers Dino Charge. Like I just said, the first time they pick up their Energems, it bonds with them. There is a way to disconnect it that they introduce at the end of the show, or like halfway through it, actually, because some con man actually gets his hand on the purple Energem. And so he morphs because he has an Energem, he can morph, becomes a micro celebrity. They find him because they're like, oh, look, it's another Power Ranger. He needs to fight with us because you don't get a choice anymore. You're a Power Ranger. The dude goes, hey, I'm a con man. I can't be doing this. Take this from me. And the Keeper's like, yeah, sure, no problem. All these fools, they have to stick with me. You just stick it right next to my staff. It'll disconnect it from you. Which is wild that this Keeper guy is like, yeah, so you don't have to fight as a Power Ranger because otherwise this dude will kill you. But no, this con man, we can get rid of him. Yeah, we don't like him. But yeah, so the timeline happens. They pick up Koda they had, the Black Ranger they had, and then the three that I just mentioned, Red, Green, and Pink, all show up and the five of them start fighting. Eventually they pick up the Gold Ranger and then the Purple Ranger because instead of being the con man, it eventually merges with their mentor figure, which is another professor. She's an archaeologist. They pick up the Graphite Ranger, the Aqua Ranger, the Silver Ranger. It's so many colors. And they fight. And eventually, we get to the season finale. Now, of course, Power Rangers got a Power Rangers. The Rangers are almost defeated, and then a whole bunch of stuff goes off, and eventually a dark energem makes a black hole, and it teleports the Rangers to dinosaur times again. The exact time zone we're given isn't known, but they're back in time all of a sudden. So they have to do what Power Rangers do, and they fight. And they actually stop Sledge from killing the dinosaurs. They win, of course, because they're the Power Rangers. So they all start going back to the respective timelines. Sir, whatever his name is go back to being a knight. Buddha goes back to being a caveman. They don't disconnect him from an Energem for some reason, because we see him later in Power Rangers Beast Morphers and a whole bunch of other series. We just like, yeah, I'm still Power Ranger. I'm pretty sure like a lot of the other Rangers disconnected themselves from their Energem, but Coder just shows up later like, yeah, I'm still a Ranger. It's fine. But they get back to present time, and they get shocked because they almost get stepped on by a Stegosaurus. Turns out they fractured the timeline, and now dinosaurs aren't extinct. And the rest of history still happened the exact same way it did in the Prime timeline, except with dinosaurs now, which is hilarious to me. Those are the two that canonically exist in a different universe now. But some of the other series still have alternate timelines. So first up, Power Rangers Mystic Force. This one is also one of my favorite series. I love it. Go watch it. It gets crazy. It gets insane very quickly. But Power Rangers Mystic Force, for your background, takes place in a place called Briarwood. Briarwood Forest is connected to the magical world, or magical dimension is what it's actually called. Not even world, just dimension. And the way that they travel to and from this magical dimension is either walking into the forest or walking into a tree. The mighty Mystic Force Power Rangers have the ability to travel through trees, going from root to root, branch to branch, leaf to leaf. So they literally walk into a tree and they walk out of a different tree. There's a scene where, so all of them work at a record store in Briarwood. And of course, Power Rangers got a Power Rangers, there's a tree across the street. And anytime a villain shows up, all of them leave their job in the middle of the day, much to their boss's chagrin, and walk across the street, run into this tree, and just appear where they need to be. There's a scene where their boss accidentally sees them walk into the tree. He's like, there's no way that could have happened, right? Walks up to the tree, walks around it. It's like, where'd they go? Because they just disappeared into a tree, and just slams his head into it. He's like, wait, I can do this. In Power Rangers, they now have this magical dimension. With magic is how they connect to the morphing grid, with their magical wands and their whatnot. Because back in 1987 is when the timeline says, I believe, there was, in the magical dimension, not in our dimension, there was this great schism, or this great big fight, the great battle, I think is what they call it. And the 5 teams, or the 5 sorcerers, fully adults, but the 5 sorcerers battle the forces of evil, and most of them end up dead because Power Ranger has Power Ranger. But throughout the Power Rangers Mystic Force, only when they're morphed, out in the human world are they called Rangers. Every other place they're called sorcerers. The red sorcerer, blue sorcerer, yellow sorcerer, pink sorcerer, and green sorcerer. Red, yellow, green. So that's my fire alarm. Ev, if you're seeing this and you're wondering why I'm not immediately evacuating, this thing goes off false all the flipping time. It is genuinely a problem with my apartment. Alright,
Huh.
Hi. You can hear that, right?
Yes, I can. All right. I will stop the recording and let me know when you're back and you can pick it up.
All right. I'm just gonna leave all this running for you,
Fair enough.
and then
Sorry for the abrupt ending, but didn't he do a fantastic job? Very good wizard. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next one.